Hello, and welcome to Socially Holistic Podcast. Socially Holistic helps coaches and holistic entrepreneurs and women in heart-centered businesses make sense of social media so they can build their own online network and get more clients. As a heart-centered business owner, you do amazing work. Holly's mission in life is to help you help more people. Help us help more women in business with a 5-star review of this podcast. Please leave one today over at iTunes. The more women who find out about this podcast, the more heart-centered businesses will be successful. Thank you.
Hello and welcome to the Socially Holistic Podcast, episode 69. This is your host, Holly Wharton, and I'm here with today's special guest, Ellen Ercolini. Ellen is a money-making expert for creative entrepreneurs. Welcome, Ellen.
Thank you, Holly.
Thank you so much for joining us today.
Oh my gosh, it's wonderful to be here. I'm so excited about it.
So tell us a little bit about your background and your business journey and how you got to where you are today with your business.
Oh my goodness, that is a long story, but the short answer is, follow the signs and follow the pieces of yourself that are like the non-negotiables and that are the unique parts. So when I was a kid, I was always starting businesses. I would save my Halloween candy and I would resell it to my neighbors, come November 5th. And every adult in my life just thought this was the most amazing, like you could see it in their eyes that they knew that this was like a different and like unique thing about me. And I was like, what? I'm not going to eat all my candy because I get sick from the sugar and, I just want to make some money. And they were like, oh,
That's not normal.
It's totally not. And, my parents would tell their friends about it in these hushed but excited voices. And I was like, okay, whatever, mom and dad, So that was sort of the first, I guess, phase of this journey was really starting these businesses as a young person without all the hype, without the internet programs, without the gurus, just really me doing it and making money. And then I went to college and of course promptly blacked out all of that life experience I had and tried as hard as I could to essentially be a nonprofit executive for, socially conscious, Latin American based nonprofits, environmental nonprofits, and went about as far as I could down that path and was like, this is not for me. I don't love this the way I thought. I cannot imagine my life like that, in the future. I just can't imagine doing this any longer and had a pretty big identity crisis around that because, that had been my compass north for a very long time. And in the midst of breakdown comes breakthrough. And I realized that I love helping people have these deeper conversations. Why do these things matter? Their life and where is it going? And, the big picture stuff. So I Googled some search terms about how to get paid for having meaningful conversations. And of course, life coaching came up. And I was like, oh, that's very interesting. And I was 26 at the time. So it was very interesting. And I had a lot of questions about if I could really make this work as a viable business. And the school that I ultimately went to, part of the reason why I chose them is because they were very straightforward with me about what it did and did not take to make a successful business. So as a 26-year-old, I really liked that sort of straightforward approach to it. Mm-hmm. So I got my coaching certification, loved it, quit my job, opened a coaching practice, was like, I'm going to change the world. Look at me go. I can help, with all these things. And luckily my entrepreneur brain kicked in with my nonprofit, operations and management background brain kicked in, which was awesome. Yeah. And it was an advantage that I started noticing very quickly that most of my coaching peers didn't have. Mm-hmm. They were very good coaches. They were very good at, talking things through. They couldn't seem to put the pieces together with how to make money and how to manage the back end of the business. So that was sort of my first indicator that I should maybe stop being a general practitioner life coach and go down the business route. And after about a year of fighting myself on that, I hung out my shingle as a business coach and strategist. And I now, it's been almost 2 years. I work exclusively with entrepreneurs to help them figure out their unique strategy to make money their way. Because I think what my coaching background has really given me is an expansive viewpoint as to what's possible, but then noticing that most, especially online entrepreneurs that I know, are straitjacketed by what they think they should be doing or what they have to do. So they haven't figured out how to make money in their own way. Mm-hmm. And they're completely stuck. So that's how I got to where I am today. And I love it. I've never had more fun. My clients are amazing. I feel like I get to play professionally, but that my play actually helps other people make infinitely more money than they were making before their businesses, which, as you know, like that changes the world.
Yeah.
Really, like when your business is singing, when you're making more money, when you have access to a higher level of income, you make different choices, you're able to do different things. It's transformative.
And how was it that you realized that this was your particular zone of genius and this was the thing that you had to help people with?
I started noticing three things. One is I call him my general practitioner, life coaching clients, because I didn't really have a focus. I was sort of taking on whatever came my way and with as much skill as I could. But what I noticed was my clients who were considering quitting their jobs or starting a business were getting the best of me. They were the ones that I was like, yes, I cannot wait to talk to them. Like, I can't wait to help them, like really, really firing on all cylinders with them. I noticed that I was doing this business support and strategy work and marrying like the structure with the strategy for a lot of my entrepreneur friends who were getting an amazing deal because it was just free. But realizing that I was sort of not working on my own business because I was having so much fun talking through these problems with them and supporting them and helping them strategize. And so once I realized that those two areas were where I was the most lit up and seeing the most results for my work, I was like, oh, yes, it's actually this, and in the meantime, I partnered with another very awesome and action-oriented life coach called Rebecca Tracy of The Uncaged Life. And we got together and really worked on solving this problem of how coaches struggle with building businesses. And we put together Coaching Business Jumpstart, and so going through that process of really teaching and training coaches how to build successful online businesses was, again, that like hit me over the head with the frying pan. Like, Ellen, like, you're so good at this. Like, this is your zone of genius. Like, you have such a strong stand for what's possible, and for business success for people in the world, that it's sort of outrageous that you're not offering this as a more direct service. So I did, and I have, and I have not looked back, truly.
So was there a tipping point in your business when things went from struggle to flow? And did that have anything to do with finding this zone of genius?
Absolutely. Yes. And two things happened at that moment. One, when because it was an internal and external moment, right? It was internally me owning that this is a lifelong passion and talent of mine, is to see creative and very personalized approaches to making money and building a business and a life that really sets you on fire. And that internal thing of saying, yes, I can do this. Yes, I believe in myself. Like, yes, I might not be, a CEO executive with my MBA, but, my brain works in this way, and owning that internally. And then, obviously doing a rebrand and owning that externally made it much more clear for people to understand what I do, who I serve, and who needs to work with me. It became way more grounded and way more clear. And so the client flow really opened up, because it was no longer like, Ellen's really great, you should talk to her. And then I would have to kind of like guess what they were looking for and try to convince them that I could help. It was very clear and streamlined and structured that these are the ways that I help online entrepreneurs make more money, which is really great. And I would also say that since I revamped my services, they got a big price increase. I started doing payment plans. And the payment plans, honestly, have been a huge game changer, because it allows business owners who really, really, really need this work to be able to afford it and to work it into their budgets, and to not have to, put it on their credit card or borrow money, or, not have, a shopping budget for a week to, manage the payments. The payment plan has been transformational as well, in terms of stabilizing my business and my income, and really making this work affordable for all the entrepreneurs out there who need it.
And not only that, I imagine that once they start working with you, they're obviously going to start bringing in more money, which will make it even more affordable.
Exactly. In fact, I would say about a third of my clients, they'll start on the payment plan, and then they email me a couple weeks afterwards and like, hey, can I just lump sum pay you the rest of it? Like, I just booked a couple clients, like, I'm so excited, and honestly, I say no, because it's already set up through PayPal, and it's a pain to, stop the processes and then have them lump sum it. So now that's part of my intake, is like, we're going to keep the payment plan. Like, even if you start making more money, like, that's awesome. You get to keep it, like, take yourself out to dinner, like, treat your husband, like, celebrate. Because it does, their income does tip up. I frequently, my favorite emails are the ones that I get from my clients that are like the day after our work together. They're like, oh my gosh, I just booked a new client, based on everything we talked about, at my new rate. And oh my goodness, like when my clients raise their rates and they book clients, it makes me the happiest, like truly the happiest.
I love that. And there's something you say on your website that I also love that says that you're not rocking your business because you haven't figured out how to run your business your way. Could you explain a little bit more about what that means? Because I absolutely love it. And I think everyone really needs to tap into this.
Yes. So what I mean by that is it is so easy to be like glamorized, and almost blinded by the very successful examples we see of online businesses. And, the one that I will use as the case study for this interview, because I think we all know who she is Marie Forleo. Mm-hmm. Brilliant, talented. I love her. I devour, her Q&A Tuesdays. I'm a B School alum from many, many, many years back. But, what this sort of glamorization of a specific person's business does is it sends a lot of messages that you have to have a very expensive group program, that you have to have highly polished digital content that comes out at least once a week, that you have to have lucrative speaking engagements, or even worse, you can't have either of those things until you have a big list or a polished, online show or a team of people and stylists and whatever. People get very caught up in sort of obsessing over what works for other people. Mm-hmm. And then they see it working. So they're like, oh, that must work. So I should try to do that. But it doesn't work for them, And then they get really caught and they get stuck and they feel so frustrated and disappointed because they're like, I'm trying to blog every week, but I hate writing, which I hear a lot.
Yep.
Like I don't want to blog every week, but I feel like I have to or I should. And I just spend all my time feeling guilty and weird about it. And, my list isn't growing. So I can't, have a group program and blah, blah, blah. It's like the kind of excuses mount on one on top of another because you're trying to apply somebody else's formula to you. And we are all unique butterflies. You can't really, at the end of the day, apply a formula and expect the same level of success as somebody else. So that's the first piece of it. And the second piece is most people, when they look at Marie Forleo's business now, they're not looking at her 5 years ago. Yep. She started out doing business, like videos in her apartment on her laptop, just like sitting in a chair and talking, like anybody can do that. Start, see what happens, and then reinvest in your business, which I think also people seem to not pull into the Marie Forleo equation. Is she reinvests a tremendous amount in the production value of her products and her videos. So if we need to put ourselves into our own equation, we need to look at who we are, what are our unique strengths and talents, and also how do we work best? I have a really dear friend of mine who is such a night owl, and she will do coaching calls at like 10 o'clock at night for her clients. And at first I was like, you're crazy. Like, what are you doing? Like, this is insane. Your clients are running your life, like da, 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 da. And finally, we talked about it more and I was like, oh, this is when you're fucking awake, like this is when your brain works best. And that's awesome. Like, good for you, like this is fun for you. Awesome. 10 o'clock at night. I am like either watching TV or asleep, like I'm certainly not working. But the point is we need to put ourselves into the equation and we need to build custom businesses around us to showcase ourselves and our talents the best and to set up the systems and the infrastructure to support our natural quirks. Like, we're all entrepreneurs because at some point we felt like we could do it better, than the system we have all left. And we do ourselves a disservice to say, I could do it better, and then immediately fall into the trap of trying to overly emulate somebody else and ignore who we are in that moment.
Yeah, I think that's so, so important because there's so many examples of women out there who are just absolutely amazing, doing fabulous things, having thriving businesses, but they're different from us. They do things differently because they're a completely different person. And following that blueprint is just not going to get us success.
It's true. And I think, you see a lot of this with like introvert extroverts thing. And so you hear a lot about how it's hard, to be successful online if you're an introvert and blah, 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 blah. And I just don't buy into any of that because it's not about how extroverted you are. It's about how connected you are to yourself and what you need to be successful and then to make it happen. And I think introverts can be connected to themselves, and I think extroverts can as well. And looking at, the bigger picture, like if you're an introvert and you get really overwhelmed on Facebook, that's totally rad. Who can you partner with, to still help make sure that your business has a Facebook presence? Don't need to do all of the things ourselves. And I think it's looking at that bigger picture of what do you personally need to be personally successful, and then to create an environment where that's the only option.
Yeah. So what would you say are your top tips on how to tap into what it is that makes you unique? Because that can be really, really challenging, especially for someone that has spent years in a corporate job that they hate, or perhaps, another type of business or job or something that just took them out of their zone of genius.
Yes, I love that. Well, and I have to confess that this is such an important topic to me that my opt-in is actually all about being yourself.
Yes, tell us more. Tell us more.
And how to integrate, how to discover those things, and how to integrate being yourself into your business. And essentially, what it's trying to do is say, stop obsessing about other people. Stop trying to do things like they do because you see them having success. How do you understand what's going to make you successful? And then let's put that into place. So the 3 tips in terms of discovering your uniqueness, the first piece is really, again, I come from a coaching background, but this is why I'm a coach as well. It's, it's get quiet and it's journal. I believe you already know the answer. You just need to create the time and space and place to listen and to let it flow. Yes. I think we get so caught up in everybody else and self-doubt and confusion and nerves and everything that we forget that we already know, and we forget to listen. So the first piece really is, and when I say create the time and space, I know a lot of us have families and husbands and kids. So part of your homework on this is to create a time, place, and space where you have quiet, where you're not going to be interrupted, and where you can take, some time with yourself and with your journal to sort of listen to those answers of what makes you really unique and special and powerful in this world. However, you need to design that in your life, but, don't try to do it in the car while you're picking up your kids from school. That doesn't count. And then I think it's looking at your whole life. I see this a lot with coaching, but I see this a lot with most professions. It's like when we get a degree or a certification, we somehow assume that skill set is the only skill set we can bring to the table. And the best example I can give you is in my life, I spent literally probably 6 months stressing out and testing different financial management systems for my business. I was like, should I use Xero? Should I use Wave? Should I use QuickBooks? Should I hire somebody? Very, very stuck, didn't know what to do. And finally, one day I remembered, and this is so crazy to me, I remembered that I used to be paid a fair amount of money to manage the books for a multi-million-dollar nonprofit using QuickBooks. I'm actually actually know how to use QuickBooks. I'm actually a bookkeeper and an accountant in my past life. But it's I went to coaching school and was like, oh, I'm a coach now,
Right. So none of the previous stuff is valid.
That Men in Black light goes off and it's you forget everything. And I laughed so hard when I remembered this, and I bought my QuickBooks subscription, and I've been super happy ever since. But it's don't forget who you have been, don't forget those moments, and I actually think, our past jobs, as terrible as they might have been, they can give you insight into skills that you have that you might want to bring to the table. And also your childhood. I mean, that is a place to look in terms of things that light you up, things that make you different, things that are interesting about you. It might take you a minute to sort of activate that memory and go there, but there's stories there. I find that most of us are the same person we've always been, just more gets added on. So if we can kind of go back to remembering some of these moments and times you felt alive or special or connected when we were younger, it gets easier to see how that's still part of you today. And then the third piece, and I think this is partially what makes you unique, but I also think this is starting to look to what's going to make you successful as a business owner, is what is your communication style? Because a big piece of successful businesses are ones that know how to communicate with their audience and their potential audiences, right?
Mm-hmm.
And potential clients and customers and business partners and all those things. So I see a lot of people saying, I don't like to write, but I need to blog. Or I know I need to be on Facebook, but it overwhelms me and like I don't understand Twitter and just the internet sucks or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's really actually taking the time to understand what your communication style is. If you're a talker, awesome. Go be on all the podcasts, start a video series, or talk into a microphone and then hire someone to transcribe them for your blog posts. If you're a visual person, I know a lot of people who have been some sort of artist or graphic designer in their past life, and they're wanting to start sort of differently themed businesses, be it coaching or social media or whatever. Use that, use your visual brain, go on Instagram, become an Instagram genius, whatever that is, and especially if you feel overwhelmed by these things, look at the parts of it that don't overwhelm you, lean into those, and then partner or hire somebody to help support the rest of your business. Because I think understanding how you communicate the best will help you play to your strengths. And again, create this like custom business that showcases you as a really unique person and power in the world. And again, somebody who does this well is Marie Forleo. She's great on camera. She likes to be on video. She's a talker. She's got her sassy personality. Like that's really when her business took off. If you want to look at somebody who's playing to her strengths, it is her. Like you don't really see her guest posting. No. You see her doing video and you see her doing talks. It's because she knows she shows up amazing in person. So I'm not saying you have to do those two things, but she's a great example of somebody who is playing to her strengths very, very effectively. And we all get to do the same thing for ourselves, no matter what our strengths are.
Excellent. Yeah, I think that's very, very good to point out. And your example is absolutely perfect.
Thank you.
So, Ellen, how can women in business benefit from working with you? You mentioned on your website that you have a signature process for working with people.
Yes. My Empires Builder package is my pride and joy. Every 6 months, I have a sort of moment with myself of like, should I change my offerings? Should I change my packages? I see a lot of people do that, but I don't because I love it.
And it gets results.
Yeah, it gets results. I love the one-on-one. I love the structure around it. I love my clients. And so the signature process, without giving away too much, is I really have an inside-out approach to building a business, if that hasn't totally come across on this interview.
Yep.
It's really looking at who you are, what's the impact you want to have? What are you bringing to the table? Like, you're the business, right? The business is based around you. Let's get really clear and open and honest with those things. And then let's take all of your skills and expertise and talents and certifications and accreditations and learnings and apply them to a group of people that you want to help change their lives. I see a lot of people advocating, choose your target audience based on people who can afford your services, or choose your ideal client based on somebody who in real life or whatever, like all these sort of external factors. But I really think at the end of the day, for a successful, strong business, you need to be working with people who you genuinely care about changing their lives and making the world a better place through your work with them. Mm-hmm. So we go there and then we look at, okay, if this is who you are and this is what you're bringing and these are your people, how can we best serve them? Because what I also see in the sort of online chatter is everyone's like, oh, I need a group program. Mm-hmm. Oh, I want a group program. Oh, who designs group programs? Oh, blah, 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 blah. And, group programs can be very effective. I have one. I run one with Coach and Business Jumpstart. And it's not the best for every client type.
Yep, exactly.
There's a lot of people who need one-on-one work, who won't pay to be part of a group because of insecurities or issues or lack of understanding or whatever, So my work really centers around getting really honest about these things and then creating the best income streams and leveraged opportunities for you, but also your clients, because I think we sometimes get so caught up in what we want to do because we should, that we forget that the people we are working with do not understand why a group program would help them, Mm-hmm. And that's a waste of money for you if you go down that road for too long. So yeah, it's fun. I do a 3-hour strategy session because my clients are ready They really, really are ready. And they're just sitting there with all the pieces and they haven't quite connected them in the way that's singing. It's like a car that needs a very serious tune-up. The car's not broken. The car's technically working. It might be making a lot of noises going down the street. Like one of the tires might be flat. But, we sit here and we put it all together and we look at it in these new and different ways. And they leave knowing where they're going, ready. These are people who have been in the hunt for so long. They are desperate to understand how it all works together so that they can go big. And then most of them do. Occasionally I'll have clients circle back to me that say, our work was amazing. Thank you so much. And I decided to, take this part-time job until I'm really ready, or something's changed with my family, whatever. People's lives are their own, but the ones who did get, like, my clients are ready, that's kind of a prerequisite for working with me, is they're ready and they're hungry and they don't need a lot of hand-holding past the big strategy phase, which for me, again, when I talk about building a custom business based around you, that's what I love. Like, I love to get in there. I love to take the time. I love to have this really expansive chunk to really work these things out with my clients and then just send them on their way so they can go do all the work and make it happen. Like, I don't need to work with somebody for 6 months to get really powerful business results for them. I do a follow-up session with my clients. And once my clients have worked with me, they get access to working with me more if they would like. But open-ended ongoing coaching never really worked for me. And I find that this service that I'm providing is just the best. It's for my clients and for me, and we're all very happy with it.
And you've got excellent testimonials on your website. So
yeah, thank you. My clients are happy, like, we get results and we have fun doing it. And I just got the nicest note from one of my clients yesterday, actually, that just stunned me with its brilliance. But she was just talking about how I'm such a force for what's possible and the business success that's possible in the world. And I think that's part of those intangibles that you get working with different people. Some people are really going to help you get your inner game. Some people are going to help you with your confidence. Some people are going to help, there's like all these different parts that people kind of work on. And I think for me, it's really taking a strong stand of like, this is freaking possible. Like, you can do it. Like, it's not rocket scientist. We just need to connect the parts in a way that gives them a lot more power.
Excellent.
Yeah, it's fun. It's truly, it's fun. It's a lot. I always tell my clients, schedule a massage or a really nice dinner or something, after we're done working together, because it's a lot. It's like a hot yoga session, where you're like, oh my gosh, yeah, my feet can totally touch my nose, like, perfect. And then the next day your body's like, what? But it's fun, because again, it's like I the way I kind of view my role is like, I am that missing element that helps all of these business owners just start firing on all cylinders. Like, I'm that secret ingredient, and I couldn't be more happy with that role in the world.
I love that. Love that. So, Ellen, do you have any women business mentors? Are there any women in business who inspire you?
Gracious. That's a really good question. So this is embarrassing because I don't actually know her name. Yes, I do. Barbara Corcoran, who's on Shark Tank.
Yep.
She is amazing. She's amazing. I watch a lot of her YouTube videos when I want to get inspired. I watch a lot of, she's given some tremendous talks, about failure and advocating for yourself and going big. She's a very incredible force in this world, business-wise. And also, I have to say, like, I'm very inspired by Mindy Kaling. I think what she's doing and what she's done has been awesome. She has a great quote that's like, why not me? I think it's her mom that said that, but that's kind of became her life philosophy. It's like, why not me? Like, curvy, Indian American, like, writer, like, why not have a starring role? Why not have a, show? And her show is a starring vehicle for her. Like, it's the Mindy project. It's based around her. Like, she calls the shots. Like, she hires all these hot actors to play her boyfriends. Like, that's great. Like, that to me is such a woman in charge of the experience that she wants to have and the business she wants to run. And, maybe she won't have, like, who knows how long her show will stay on the air, but it's like, she's having so much fun doing it. And she's having the exact experience she wants creating that. And I look to that as, for online business owners of like, we can have that. We are designing our own Mindy projects right now, right here. And I just think it's very cool. what she has to say about all of that. And Amy Poehler as well, in a similar way, and just sort of taking a voice for women, but also like working hard and being smart and being nice to each other. I think both of these women are just total inspirations for me about like what's really possible if you're yourself, but also like go after your dreams, going after what you want.
Mm-hmm. Excellent. I love it.
Yeah, business inspirations meets pop culture, I should say.
So, Ellen, where can people find you online and learn a little bit more about you?
You can come over to ellenercolini.com, which is Ellen spelled the traditional way, ELLEN, E as an elephant, RCOLINI.com. And that's where all my goodies live. That's where the Be Yourself, freebie is if you want to learn more about that. And it's where all my interviews and blog posts and videos live as well. And there's loads of resources there. I really believe, again, this isn't rocket science. You just need some strategy and some time and some space and often another brain. What I also see is, people, they buy a lot of info courses because the price point's a little lower. They seem so sexy and attainable, et cetera, et cetera. But sometimes you just really need someone else to dive into your own soup with you and poke around and help you understand where the gold is and go from there. So I have a lot of resources for all that on my site as well.
Excellent. Thank you so much for joining us today.
My gosh, you're so welcome, Holly. This was wonderful. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. And thank you for listening. And remember to visit sociallyholistic.com/SHP69 for the show notes on this episode. Thank you.
Thanks so much for listening to the Socially Holistic Podcast with your host, Holly Wharton. Please help us help more women in business by giving us a 5-star review of this podcast. The more women who find out about this podcast, the more successful businesses there will be. So please leave a 5-star review today over at iTunes. Thank you.